Hello everyone and welcome to the Money Man. Now today I've got currency from a country that only survived for 3 years. That's right, a country that only survived 3 years. And the country I'm going to talk about is Biafra. Now you probably never heard of Biafra, and that's because, like I said, the country didn't last very long. But what happened in May of 1967, a small region in southern Nigeria actually broke away from the Nigerian state and declared its own republic. And this country came to be known as Biafra. And they did actually receive some support at the time. When the Biafrans basically said we're going it alone, they were actually recognised by countries like Gabon, Haiti, Ivory Coast, Tanzania and Zambia. And there were many other nations that, although they didn't give official support, they still actually sent aid and things like that to Biafra. And those nations included Israel, France, Spain, Portugal, Norway, Rhodesia, South Africa and the Vatican City. And there were also numerous charities that were also assisting the Biafrans as well. And even though this country was around for such a short amount of time before it was reabsorbed into Nigeria, they actually managed to create their own currency. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you today. So I'm going to start off with the lowest denomination which I have, which is the 5 Biafran shilling note. And here it is. So you can see it's really basic in its design. And you'll see that the 3 banknotes that I have for you today basically have the same imagery going all the way through them. However, for a country's first go at making currency after newly being formed, it's actually not that bad. I mean, okay, in terms of the sophistication of the security features, is abysmal, really. There's hardly anything going on here. But you can see that we've got the denomination represented in the top left corner and the bottom left corner. And you can see that instead of actually having a watermark, we have the 5 shillings right here. And you'll see that it pokes through the reverse of the banknote. But there's no real watermark here, and there's no real security strip or anything. You've got this kind of like dotted line that goes through that's supposed to mimic a security strip, but it doesn't really do the job. You can see that the design is very simple. They haven't gone with any kind of iconography. They've just gone with things like the sun, which was the centerpiece of the Biafran flag. And the Biafran flag was basically a tri-coloured flag. Starting with red at the top, black in the middle and green at the bottom, with a rising yellow sun in the middle, which is this one here. So they did adopt that symbol from their flag and carry it into their banknotes. And obviously you have to remember that Nigeria is a former colony of the British Empire, and therefore Nigeria was using decimalisation, the British decimalisation. So the Biafrans carried on that into their currency with pounds, shillings and pence, but obviously in their own style. So if we spin it around and look at the back, you can see we've got some lovely Biafrans here enjoying liberation, I guess. So these are tribes people which represent the unique ethnic groups in Biafra. Basically, the causes of the conflict were political, but also the conflict is along ethnic lines as well. You'll probably know that many countries in Africa are the creations of colonialism, and what you have is many different ethnic tribes that are perhaps not the best of friends being forced into one nation, and that's caused many conflicts in places like Rwanda and other countries across the African continent, and Nigeria is no different. So the Biafrans have had a long-standing distrust of the Nigerian state, and they did actually go to war with each other, which meant that the Biafrans were ultimately defeated and reabsorbed into Nigeria in the year of 1970. So that's why Biafra only lasted for 3 years. But these banknotes were produced in such quantities that you can actually still find them in collector communities right now, and some of them are really cheap actually. So the next one I'm going to show you is the 10 shillings, and I quite like this banknote. I think this is probably my favourite. And here it is. You can see it's a little bit better. It looks less like toilet paper. And I don't mean that to be offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive to these banknotes. But you've got to understand that when these countries become newly independent, especially these poor regions of the world, you know, they can't create sophisticated banknotes. They just don't have the resources. However, you can see that they do want to break away, and they do want to have that economic independence by producing their own currency, which is admirable, and it was an admirable effort. But you can see again the sophistication, it just isn't there. You can see the 10 shillings poking through as a sort of security feature almost, but it's not. It's not a security feature, it's not a watermark. But you can see we've got the Biafran sun right there, and the palm tree, pretty much the same as the 5 shillings. If we spin it around and look at the back, you can see we've got some kind of refinery on the back. And that's it really. Again, infrastructure is a very popular thing to celebrate on African banknotes, and Biafra continued with that tradition. But really, really simple banknotes, but interesting nonetheless. I really do like these actually. So yeah, that's the next one. So the final one I actually have is the £1, the Biafran £1 note. Now I believe there is a 5, and there could be a couple of other denominations which I'm not too sure of, but this one is by far the most common and the easiest to get hold of. And what you'll actually find is many collectors sell sort of like bundles of 50 banknotes that are low denominations from many countries all over the world. And this is one of those banknotes that you will see in those 50 bundles. And when I say a bundle, I mean it's a mixed bundle of many different currencies from around the world. And they're just cheap gifts, really, of really low denomination, low value currencies. And you'll always see this pop up in these because they're really cheap and they're very numerous. So if you have a look on eBay, you can pick these up for really cheap, no problem. So you can see it's the £1, and again, we're moving into the pounds away from the shillings, and yeah, a bit more interesting, a bit more imagery going on. It's not that bad actually, and you can see we've got the governor and the director, but unfortunately they weren't around for very long. And you can see it's stylized very much like a Nigerian banknote of the time, but with its own flavour and its own colour scheme, and these wonderful sort of spirally patterns that go through the banknote, which do actually make it look kind of interesting. So I would say of the three, even though this is the cheapest one to find, it's probably the most visually interesting, but for me I prefer the 10 shillings. I like that a little bit more, just for its colour really. If we spin it around and look at the back, you can see we've got the sigil of Biafra, the coat of arms, right here, and it says peace, unity and freedom. And you can see we've got the Bank of Biafra, which was established as a central bank of the new Biafran nation, and yeah, £1 along the bottom. Obviously continuing with that tradition of having their banknotes printed in English following the Nigerian state, because like I said before, English is an official language, the official language of Nigeria, and was of Biafra because of that British colonial legacy. You can see the £1 poking through, which again looks like it might be a watermark, but it is not. It's just there, and you can see it won't make sense anyway because it will be backwards. So yeah, you can see they've tried, but it just hasn't really worked. But the reverse is actually quite appealing. Interesting banknote. I wish I had the £5 to show you, but I currently do not. It's not that easy to get hold of compared to the other ones, and it's a little bit more expensive. So yeah, that's what I've got for you today. A country that only lasted 3 years. Now I'm going to be producing more videos on currencies from countries that no longer exist in the very near future, and I'm also working on a very big project, a documentary which I'm hoping to share with you guys in the near future. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on the next one. It's the Money Man signing out for now. Bye bye.